WarioWare smooth moves, huh? You want some smooth moves? Well, I'll show you some smooth moves.
WarioWare Smooth Moves, the game that took interactive gaming to a whole new level. Here, Wario's got a whole new set of moves, and he's about to bring the party to its feet. Released on December 2nd, 2006, for the Nintendo Wii, this here was actually the first ever WarioWare game on a console this time around, instead of a handheld system like the Game Boy Advance or Nintendo DS. Not only that, but it's also the first WarioWare game to be rated E10+, so no kiddies allowed. I guess they wanted to shake things up a bit, so props to them for including some variety here and there.
So the game's questions are, is this game really a party? Do the motion controls actually respond properly? Is it actually possible to play this game with a GameCube controller? And how the heck does Wario have all these companions in this game? Well, time to get down.
Okay, so here's the part where you guys are probably expecting a plot or something like that. But the truth is, this game doesn't really have a plot. Yes, shocker, I know. Instead, this game is split up into multiple stories in between each level. Now, explaining all these stories at once may take a little while, so to shake things up a bit, let's talk about the gameplay first, just to get it out of the way. Similar to previous games in the WarioWare series, this here is a puzzle game that focuses on these things called microgames, which are very short games that only last about 5 seconds or so. You start off with 4 lives, and if you fail to complete a microgame, you lose a life. If you lose all your lives, then yep, you guessed it, it's game over for you. These microgames also get increasingly faster as you progress through them. Each microgame requires you to position the Wii Remote, or Wiimote for short, in very specific ways, such as holding it vertically, or placing the bottom end of it against your nose. These certain movesets actually have proper names as well, such as the waiter, or the elephant, and I demand that they keep these names until the end of time.
Speaking of which, when will time end? I've always wondered about that. Oh, never mind then. It just ended.
Not only that, but you are also sometimes required to use the nunchuck attachment for the Wii Remote in certain microgames as well. Before each microgame begins, the required position for the Wii Remote is shown to you, in order to offer you some time to position the Wii Remote. The game is split up into multiple stages, and each one is represented by a WarioWare character, and loosely connected by a story, with the microgames divided among the stages. But don't worry, I'll explain every single story in the game later on. But anyways, after you complete a certain number of microgames in a certain level, you get to advance onto that level's boss stage, which is basically just a more advanced microgame that is even longer and more complex than the others. After you complete all of the single-player stages, you unlock the game's multiplayer mode, in which only one Wiimote is used and shared by up to 12 players. Yep, that's right, your ears did not deceive you right there. 12.
Oh boy, that sure is a lot of players. Now, I'm not exactly sure why they couldn't just have each of the 12 players have their own Wii Remote, but I guess nobody could really afford to buy all 12 Wii Remotes, especially just for one single game mode.
When you play a microgame in this mode, the other players have to just sit there and watch. After you complete a microgame, you then have to pass the Wiimote over to the next player, and the cycle continues until the last player is standing. I mean, just look at this! Maze as angels, flying through the sky! You can't get any better than that. But anyways, one of these game modes is actually a game of darts, which I definitely was not expecting, especially in a WarioWare game. But then again, I guess I should have expected it, considering all the random, wacky, and crazy things this series had to offer. And with WarioWare Gold on the horizon, who knows what kind of stuff they'll bring to the table in that game.
Now I don't mean to brag or anything, but I am the ultimate darts champion. I can easily get a bullseye, no problem. Just watch. Alright, on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Skills.
And now it's time to talk about all the stories in this game, so get ready. First up, we have the game's opening cutscene, and here's how it begins. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Well, okay, not really. a group of ancient people found this mysterious object on the ground, which they dubbed the Wii Remote. They used it in order to tease and taunt the Splunks for quite some time. However, they didn't want anything bad to happen to it, so one day, they preserved it in an ancient Wii Remote temple, where no one will ever find it. Nya. Many years later, Wario passes by the temple on his motorcycle, and into Diamond City, while giving off an evil laugh, for some odd reason.
Okay, I'll bet you $100 that they're gonna try to preserve the Wii U gamepad next. No doubt about that.
That brings me over to the next story, Wario. It starts off at Wario's house, where Wario is sitting in a chair while watching TV and eating junk food. Huh, maybe that's why Wario is so thick. But anyways, all of a sudden, a Splunk sneaks in and steals all of Wario's junk food. Oh no! This makes Wario very angrily chase after him, all the way into the Wii Remote temple. In the temple, Wario finds the Wii Remote that the ancient people had kept preserved for the longest time. What's this? It's a Wii Remote, dummy. But then, when Wario picks it up, all of a sudden, a giant boulder comes crashing through the ceiling, and starts chasing Wario down the hallway. Okay, now this is turning into Indiana Wario in the Temple of Greed. But luckily, Wario escapes the temple alive. And even better, he's still got the lost Wii Remote, and it's all his now. The end.
So remember, kids, Wario says it's okay to steal.
Next we have Mona. It starts off with Mona riding on her motorcycle really fast, late for the cheerleading squad at the Diamond City football stadium. She finally makes it, and when she does, one of the football players immediately gets a crush on her. But then he snaps out of it and realizes that he has to focus on the game, not Mona's good looks. Then, in the last few seconds of the game, he pulls off an incredible touchdown to win the game, just for Mona, but not for his family members as well, for some odd reason. But anyways, after the game is over, he finally gathers up the courage to scream at the top of his lungs that he really loves Mona, so loud that it makes the crows caw. But unfortunately, she already drove away in her motorcycle. Oh well, maybe next time. And yes, that is a maybe in quotation marks. The end.
Okay, this guy obviously doesn't know that the correct way to get himself a girlfriend is by asking her out, not screaming, "I love you, Mona!" at the top of his lungs.
Up next we have Kat and Anna. But first, did you know that if you say those two names together, you get the word katana, or katana, whatever way you want to pronounce it. Huh, neat. But anyways, it starts off with a giant red ogre about to attack Diamond Dojo. The sensei is terrified, but not Kat and Anna. Anna realizes that the ogre's son has arrived, tugging on the sensei's ponytail. Kat then uses her magical cloning powers to split into 5 copies of herself, to take down the ogre much faster and easier. But then, the ogre's son yells at them to stop, and so they did. Then, the ogre left Diamond Dojo with his son, with Kat waving goodbye to them. But then, Kat realizes that the ogre was actually mistaken for taking Anna, instead of the son. And then Anna just wails while moving her arms up and down. Sheesh, what a crybaby. The end.
Anna, please, just stop wailing and jump off the ogre's hand. Cat will catch you.
Up next we have Young Cricket and Master Mantis, making their first ever series appearance in this game. It starts off with the two of them walking down the road, when all of a sudden, Cricket's stomach starts growling. He tells Mantis that he's hungry, but then they smell dumplings from a nearby food shack. Except for one thing. The line to get them is really long, even though there's only 4 dumplings. They might have to split them at least 10 ways, tops. But anyways, Cricket doesn't want to wait in this really long line, since of course he's hungry. So he runs across the people's heads in order to get there faster. Kinda like that one scene in SpongeBob's Truth or Square special. Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about. Huh. Maybe that's where the episode got that idea from, since of course, it premiered a few years after this game released. But now I'm getting way off topic, so moving on. When Cricket finally makes it to the end of the line, he asks for 2 dumplings, one for him, and one for Mantis. But then, Cricket realizes that what he did to those people's heads was wrong, so he heads all the way back to the start of the line, in style. And by that, I mean running across the people's heads again. And now, as a punishment, he has to wait in the really long line, with Mantis and his very own hunger. The end.
Man, Cricket sure didn't learn his lesson now, did he? He's a non-lesson learner. Wait, is that even a word?
Up next we have Jimmy T. Aw yeah. It starts off with him walking down the street while it's raining. Why he doesn't have an umbrella is beyond me, but maybe his big blue afro is keeping him dry. But anyways, he then finds a stray cat, which then follows him as he continues his walk. But then, more and more cats keep showing up and following him. Ha! Chick magnet? More like cat magnet, am I right? This all leads up to everyone having an ultimate dance-off in the middle of the street. Then, they all jump inside this building called Club Sugar, which is, of course, a dance club. After some more dancing in that building, the cats all march out of there single file, waving at the sky, for some odd reason. After Jimmy T exits the place, a cat taps on his shoulder and gives him his forgotten umbrella. And then justice is officially restored. The end.
Dancing cats. What's next? Dancing dogs?
Next we have Ashley and Red. It starts off with the two of them reading books about magical spells in the library of Ashley's mansion. Wait a minute, she has her own mansion? Man, her parents must be very rich or something. Well, either that, or she borrowed some money from Luigi and his very own mansion. But I'm getting way off topic, once again, so moving on. Red then turns into a magic scepter, which Ashley catches in her hand. She then waves it all around, and uses its powers on a sprout, which turns into a pretty flower. However, she isn't too impressed with these results, so a giant floating book with a skull on the front cover decides to help her out. After he does this, Ashley tries the magic scepter again on the plant, but this time, it turns into a giant piranha plant-like monster. In fact, it grows so big, it crashes through the roof of the mansion, and roars very menacingly. Red is terrified of it, but Ashley seems to be pretty pleased with these results, even though her mansion is kind of destroyed now. The end.
Okay, hold up. Why is Ashley so pleased that a giant monster destroyed her mansion? She should be devastated. Man, she does not know how to control her emotions now, does she?
Next we have Dribble Spitz. It starts off with the two of them outside, washing their car, when all of a sudden, a lady comes up and asks them to give her a ride. Dribble asks her where she wants to go, and she says she wants to go to this place called Tomorrow Hill. Huh, never heard of it. But anyways, they all drive off to the lady's destination. When they finally get there, they drop the lady off, while she walks up to the top of Tomorrow Hill. But then, all of a sudden, to Dribble and Spitz's surprise, they see that the lady was actually an alien the whole time. She then takes off in her alien spaceship, leaving behind only her hat, as it gently floats down right on top of Dribble's head. Then, Spitz tells Dribble he just realized she never paid the fare, which really drives Dribble bonkers. The end.
So remember, kids, always pay the fare, even if you don't know what a fare is, because I surely don't.
Next we have Penny, who also makes her first ever series appearance in this game as well. It starts off with her walking up to this place called Diamond Academy, while she puts on a pair of pink glasses, which somehow completely changes her outfit. Man, I wish I had a pair of those glasses as well. But make sure they're red, because 1, red is my all-time favorite color, and 2, pink is only for girls. But I'm getting way off topic yet again, so moving on. After Penny puts on these magic glasses, she enters her school's boxing ring to go face-to-face with her half-human, half-robot grandpa, Dr. Krygor. Man, what a name. However, instead of boxing, this competition is all about nerdy science inventions. Penny wins because she's the best, and her invention is a pink Wario bike, which she then gives to Wario, which I'll explain later on. Then, they all have a big dancing and singing celebration, and hooray, everyone's happy. The end.
Okay, hold up. So if this competition is all about nerdy science inventions, then why the heck is it taking place inside a boxing ring? Also, what's a boxing ring doing inside a school anyways? That makes about as much sense as saying, oh, if you use a flamethrower on your burning house, you'll put the fire out, because you know the old saying, fight fire with fire, and fire always wins the fight.
Next we have my favorite WarioWare characters of all time, 9V and 18V, named after batteries. Cool. But anyways, it starts off with 9V showing 18V his brand new Game & Watch, in which 18V mistaken as calling a DS Lite. Oh come on, know your stuff, man! But anyways, 18V wants to have a turn with it, but 9V isn't quite done with it yet. They then both fight over it, until, all of a sudden, it breaks in two. This makes 9V so mad, he kicks 18V out of his house. Then, 18-Volt decides to go to Toy Express in order to buy 9-Volt a brand new Game & Watch. But no matter how hard he looked, he couldn't find a single one at the store, probably because they were all sold out. 18-Volt sadly walks out of the store and all the way back home, but along the way, he finds another store that actually has a brand new Game & Watch. But right when he's about to buy it, he runs into 9-Volt. He apologizes to him, and then they become best friends again. The end.
Wow, an 18-year-old fighting with a 9-year-old over a Game & Watch. Never seen that one before.
Next we have Jimmy T's evil twin cousin, Jimmy P. Well, maybe not evil, but still. But anyways, believe it or not, this story is actually exactly the same as Jimmy T's story, except instead of cats, he has dogs. And instead of Club Sugar, they go to this place called Club Spice, which is, once again, of course, a dance club. That's two different opposites right there. Not only that, but at the end of the story, this time, instead of having a dog tap on his shoulder, it's Jimmy T. And instead of giving Jimmy P his forgotten umbrella, he just kind of looks at him with his head turned to the side a little bit. The end.
Ha! That'll teach Jimmy P not to steal his cousin's story. Well, okay. He didn't completely steal it, but the concept is still pretty much the same. Man, this guy really needs to take some originality classes or something.
Next we have Tiny Wario. Oh hey, would you look at that? 2 clone characters in this game! But anyways, it starts off at Wario's house, once again, where Wario realizes that his mail came. In the mailbox, he finds the pink Wario bike that Penny made and sent to him. Wario rides it down the street, looking like a complete fool of himself, when all of a sudden, he begins to shrink in size. He then gets sucked into the bike, and transforms into multiple copies of Tiny Wario. These Tiny Warios then find a bunch of strawberries, which they love, and they eat them all up. This causes them to combine into one big fat thick Wario once again. But then, all of a sudden, a group of Splunks appear out of left field, demanding Wario to give the Wii Remote back to them, so they can put it back in the Wii Remote temple. Wario refuses and tries to run away from them. They then end up chasing him into the Wii Remote temple, in which Wario then trips and falls on the floor, accidentally dropping the Wii Remote into its correct place. One of the Splunks thanks Wario for his accidental doings, and we are then shown a scrolling list of all the characters' names in the game, in case you forgot exactly what they were before. And then after that, we see Wario's pink bike parked right in front of the Wii Remote temple, and then it flops down to the ground. And here's where it actually says, "The end," this time.
Man, I didn't know that Wario's pink bike actually had an auto-drive feature. I hear that's all the rage with cars nowadays, and everybody loves them.
And finally, we have everybody's favorite space alien of all time, Orbulon, who has a bowling pin for a head, for some odd reason. But anyways, it starts off with him inside of his pink pig UFO spaceship thing, all the way up in outer space, when all of a sudden, a nunchuck flies out of left field, and hits the UFO, causing it to crash land into the Wii Remote temple. There, Orbulon finds both the Wii Remote and nunchuck. He picks them up to check them out, but when he does, the Wii Remote temple begins to shake, and then rise all the way up into outer space. Orbulon then declares this brand new spaceship in the name of himself, but then, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of Splunks crowd all around him, demanding him to give those items back to them. This leads to a big fight in the Wii Remote temple, causing it to fall all the way back down to the ground, in the exact same spot it has always been in. Then, the Splunks kick Orbulon out of the Wii Remote temple so hard that both he and his spaceship end up all the way back into outer space, once again, where they belong. The end.
Okay, hold up. So first, the Splunks demand Wario to give them back something, and now Orbulon? Who's next? Shadow Mario? Or Keith the Thief?
And those are all of the stories in this game. I told you it would take a while. Now sure, there's also Dr. Crygo and Mike's stage, but that one doesn't really have a story. It's more of a high score stage, where you constantly burn these things called calories. I guess the word calories is copyrighted in this game, for some odd reason. Not only that, but there's also these 4 elephant buildings, each one being a different color for a different style of gameplay. The blue elephant building, all mixed up, is exactly what it sounds like. It's a combination of all the previous microgames that you've already played, and each microgame you clear counts as a point. If you score at least 30 points, you unlock the red elephant building. Super hard. It's basically the same thing as the last building, except much, much faster. But thankfully, you only have to score at least 20 points to win. Doing that will unlock the yellow elephant building. Sudden death. In this building, the speed is normal, and it always remains that way, but the main gimmick here is that you only have one life, or in this case, one apple. So that means one hit and you're dead, so be careful. But if you score at least 10 points, you unlock the Green Elephant building. Thrilling. And the name fits as well, because this time, it never actually shows you what way you're supposed to hold the Wii Remote before each microgame begins, making it all the more challenging. But just like the Red Elephant building, you only need to score at least 20 points. Doing that will unlock the Music and Sound Effects Studio. And I gotta admit, this mode is actually pretty fun to mess around with. You should totally check it out sometime. Well, that is, whenever you got the chance, of course. You can also unlock some bonus mini-games on the world map too, as well as unlocking even more microgames to play. Now that's pretty nifty, I gotta say.
And now for the flaws. Let's get to them before this party really starts raising the roof.
The first flaw I have with the game is, yet again, its short length. I'm tired of saying it over and over again, so I'm just gonna say that I just wish this game was a little bit longer. That's all. The second flaw with the game is that there aren't really any voice actors reading the characters' subtitles as they're talking. I mean, come on guys, was it really that hard to just hire a few voice actors to take over the characters' roles? Oh well, moving on. The third and final flaw is that some of these microgames can sometimes be a little bit unresponsive to the Wii Remote's motion controls. Now sure, I know this wasn't the first ever WarioWare game that used motion controls, because believe me, WarioWare Twisted started that whole motion craze on the Game Boy Advance, and there was really nothing quite like it at the time. But here, I do kind of wish they tweaked it a little bit more. So yeah, once again, not too many flaws I have with the game. But just because it has less flaws than games like Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine, that doesn't mean it's better than those two games. So with that being said, I'm giving WarioWare Smooth Moves 83 out of 100 Mario hats. Okay, but seriously though, this has to be one of the best Wii games of all time. It's definitely a game that you'll keep coming back to time and time again, especially when you've got a full house. And even though it never really dares to test anybody's time and patience, I still think it's one of the most inventive games designed for the Nintendo Wii's interactive motion controls. You should definitely try this game out, despite all the random, wacky, and crazy stuff that does tend to happen at certain times. Keep those hands in the air like you just don't care, everybody.
Okay guys, so next time we meet, we'll be taking a look at New Super Mario Bros. Wii for the Nintendo Wii. Yep, that's right. Even though this is part of the New Super Mario Bros. Series, it can still be a great time nonetheless, especially with the 4-player co-op. So stay tuned for that. Oh, and remember, gaming is not a crime. Until then, it's the awesome sauce.
Dab. Gameplay! Swag kitty swag. He has so many legs!